One of the week's most viral stories this week claims to show what happens to your body after you drink a can of Coca-Cola or any soda. For example, the renegade pharmacist says that after 10 minutes, your body gets hit with 10 teaspoons of sugar, which would normally cause you to get sick, but other chemicals work to keep the soft drink in your system. That's only the beginning. So is the world's best-selling soft drink really that bad for you? Joining us right now is Dr. Devi. She is Dr. Devi Nampiaparampil from NYU School of Medicine. How did I do there?
That was perfect.
All right, Dr. Devi, good to see you. A can of Coca-Cola?
I know.
Tell us exactly what happens when you drink soda or Coca-Cola in this matter.
All right, so the first thing that hits you is the sugar, like the pharmacist said. And the thing about the sugar is that, your body has a response. It doesn't want all that sugar right away, so it releases insulin. And what insulin does is it changes it to fat or muscle. So it's the same way you might move money from a checking account to some other type of savings account. It's storing it in another form. So that fat can be broken down later, if you're starving. So the first thing is, you don't want to have that much fat being built up. And then, over the course of time, what'll happen is that if it overshoots and your sugar dips too low, yeah, exactly, then you'll start to feel hungrier and thirstier because you need something to give you more sugar to get you back to normal. So those are some of the more obvious effects, and then you start having the problems with the caffeine and other things in the Coke.
Well, keep going. Tell us the implication of having a soda.
Yeah, so the sugar and the fat are the first thing. I mean, with the caffeine, the other issue is, we all like caffeine because it makes us feel a little more alert, but it can have other effects on your blood pressure, on your heart rate. So it's basically throwing your body into this sort of sense of, I'm ready to fight or I'm going to run, so you're definitely getting more pumped up.
And this report said that soda actually sucks out of your system nutrients that you need, right? I couldn't believe that.
It impacts your bones.
Yeah, that's the thing that most people don't realize. So we're actually very careful in the hospital.
But by the way, what nutrients does it pull out of your body?
Well, it's pulling out the calcium. So there's
and magnesium, I think, too, right?
Yes, yeah. And the calcium is what affects the bones the most, because what'll happen is it sucks out the calcium from your gut and then from your blood. And then what'll happen is your body's always in flux, right? So it wants to have a certain amount of calcium in the blood so the heart can work, so that your different organs can work. So it starts breaking down the bones. So what'll happen is, let's say you're a kid, you're trying to build bone. It's going to be much harder if you're drinking soda. If you're an adult and you can't make bone anymore, or you're at risk for osteoporosis, maybe you're postmenopausal, then it'll actually help you break down bone, and it could make it worse.
It's horrible. Why are we only talking about Coca-Cola?
What are you looking at me for when she said that?
I'm sorry?
What are you looking at me for when she said that?
No, I thought you might want to weigh in because you're so healthy. He eats perfectly, he exercises, he's a triathlete.
Listen, I do, and I don't drink.
Amazing.
I don't drink soda anymore, but I'm wondering about like seltzer waters and soda waters. Is that same drawer of the calcium coming out of it?
Well, it's the acid. So it's the acid that causes the carbonation, and then if it has any kind of phosphoric acid or phosphorus in there, it'll also make it worse.
Wait a minute, so seltzer water can pull out nutrients as well?
Yeah.
Can you offset it through a calcium supplement, a calcium pill?
Well, you can. I mean, but it gets tricky because, if the calcium supplement's there, it's not actually going to work if you have the soda or the seltzer in your gut and that interacts with the supplement. So it's sort of like a delicate balance. I mean, water is your best bet. But I don't want to make it sound so bad, because if someone's having an occasional soda or something like that,
we're talking about the chronic soda users that sit down and that's all they have. They don't drink water. They don't drink milk.
We're talking about people who drink soda every day.
Sure, yeah.
Now, we've been looking at Coca-Cola, but it's not just Coca-Cola, all right? What about a Pepsi? What about, cream soda?
Sure, all of them have those same effects. And another thing people don't realize is they can actually dehydrate you. So usually you grab a soda because you feel thirsty, right? You want to have that kind of thirst quenching effect. But the problem is it's what's called a diuretic. So whatever amount you drink, you lose more than that. So we give things like this to people who have heart failure, or they're swollen, they're retaining water.
What about energy drinks like Red Bull or say like Gatorade? What happens there?
Well, Red Bull has caffeine in it, so that actually can have that same diuretic effect where you lose fluid. But Gatorade's a little different. It doesn't have caffeine, so sometimes people will drink that to replenish fluids. So if they're dehydrated, they drink the Gatorade then.
But all caffeine is bad? I mean, like, how about coffee, which I'm drinking right now?
And I'm drinking water right now.
Yeah, you would be drinking water right now, wouldn't you?
Well, caffeine isn't terrible. I mean, it helps us get going, right? But it still has those effects, whether it's coffee or otherwise. Coffee compared to soda probably has more acid too. So in terms of giving you heartburn or these other things, coffee, probably has more of an effect, but it doesn't have the same sugar.
Thank you, Dr. Devi.
Yeah, and by the way, in terms of what Liz is talking about, in terms of sucking out the important nutrients, Where does that go? And then the ultimate issue with that is what? Bone disease? What
Heart disease. I mean, the thing that I think about the most is there are some studies coming out that show that it can affect the brain. So in terms of your thinking or your memory, all of this, the combination of it can affect how well you learn, right? So for anything that you want to do, that's critical.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really, really important information. Dr. Devi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Devi from NYU there. Coming up, futures off of their lows this morning despite weakness in Chevron and Exxon. Got a live report from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange coming your way. Back in a moment.